Hello, and thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. We've got another of our In the News segments, and we've got a few excellent news releases to talk about today. I'm going to start with Puma. Puma is recently they became a new sponsor of the shows. I'm very thankful for that, and now enables me to do a lot of commentary on sponsors and also helps with the sector reports that I do when I talk about advocating for a lot of companies and the sector itself. In one place you can find is on my Substack at rocksandstocks.substack.com. You can find an article that I wrote. They just became a sponsor about a month ago, so I wrote a report on that. And then last week I had an interview with Marcel Robillard, who's the CEO, and you can find that on my YouTube channel at Rocks and Stocks News. So what we talked about in that interview was this upcoming drilling campaign. And as you can see here from the headline, Puma Exploration launches its 2023 drilling campaign. They reported it has launched phase 1 of 2023 drilling, and drill is currently turning at its 100% owned Williamsbrook Gold Project in northern New Brunswick, Atlantic Canada. It's a fully funded and permitted program focused on the Lynx Gold Zone and is designed with 3 primary objectives. They want to extend the continuity of the LGZ or Lynx Gold Zone at depth and along strike, validate and refine the existing geological model, and corroborate their current geophysical pathfinder tool. The one point they make there is about extending the continuity of Lynx at depth and along strike. This is important because they've got a lot of indications from their surface sampling and their stripping to see the bedrock that the Lynx Gold Zone, in fact, does extend and could be quite significantly. The depth, I'm going to show you an image here pretty soon that you'll understand why I'm excited about what they're doing at the depth extension. And of course, this will help them to refine their existing geological model, which gives them added predictability as they get more drilling done. And then they've got the way that they do their geophysical work in combination with their stripping to see the bedrock. These guys are doing an excellent exploration effort. And there you can see the drills at the Lynx Gold Zone. President and CEO of Puma, Marcel Robillard, commented in the news release, and I quote, "We've been diligently studying the lithology and structural geology at the Lynx Gold Zone to understand what controls gold mineralization to minimize drilling expenditure and maximize success. The 2023 drill program will mainly test the extension at depth of the high-grade gold shoots identified by our previous drilling campaigns. It will also verify a series of targets generated by our ongoing data compilation and analysis that were never drilled before. Recent surface gold discoveries, including the new quartz vein grading 288 grams per ton of gold, will also be tested at shallow depth. We're excited to see the drill turning again at the Lynx Gold Zone. We anticipate our 2023 drilling program will significantly increase the Williamsbrook gold inventory and add value for our shareholders." So as you can see here, they're planning 15 holes, 2,000 meters, and to expand it beyond the 100 meters of depth that they've already drilled of the high-grade gold shoots that were identified in 2023. They're plunging at about 25 to 30 degrees, and they want to test the high-grade gold veins discovered recently and on their northwest orientation and gather geological and structural data to help refine their 3D modeling. They mentioned that the Bonanza grade gold veins that return 2.77 grams per ton of gold over 42 meters and 13.49 grams over 7 meters. The stacked quartz veins in Discovery Hole WB2102 graded 5.5 grams per ton over 50 meters near surface. The recently discovered northwest dipping quartz vein that returned 35 grams of gold and 2.78 grams, and other Bonanza grade veins that sampled 371 grams, 121 grams, and 106 grams of gold that were previously drilled but may have missed in the 2022 program. So here is the a model that has me quite excited. And what you can see here is a stacked series of lenses or zones of high-grade gold. As you can see here, the gold grade shell. This is not gram meters. These are grams of gold. 10 to 50 are in the purple. 1 to 10 are in the magenta. 0.5 to 1 are in the red. So as you can see here, most of that is high grade. Most of that is high grade. Most of that is high grade. Same here. And here, all in here, here. And all of this is open to keep on drilling at depth, which is what they're planning on doing with this 2023 program to extend this. So you've got a group of stacked zones here that only goes down to about 100 meters from the drilling. And then they're going to start moving that another 100 meters deeper. So this is a very exciting, I love high-grade gold, especially when it has continuity, like you can see here, and the potential to be open at depth. And when I say depth, you're not talking about a significant amount of depth. This is all contained, this high grade, within the first 100 meters. So very exciting program. There you can see some of the high grade hits, 3.85 meters of 46.94 grams, 10 meters of 10 grams, 36 meters of 3.25 grams. There's lots of juicy numbers in there, and it's very exciting to see them get drilling at that link zone. But here, this map helps you to understand that, you know, they've done a lot of, here's the link zone, and then they've done a lot of sampling along here with excellent grades. And what they do here is they're able to strip the the cover, which is only a couple of meters of soil, and get down to the bedrock. And once they get down to the bedrock, then they can actually see the veins, and they've sampled those veins and got a lot of great hits. And that's exactly how they found the link zone itself. So the link zone has potential, and you see that it's wrapping right around this geophysical anomaly. So this link zone, they're going to not only expand at depth, as they show in this that image earlier, but they're going to also be testing some of this extension. They've got other zones that look quite promising as well. And this is why they're talking about the potential to have an entire district with multiple deposits on it. And I think you can't really argue with the results, because as you can see, there's gold all over this their land package, and some of it is associated with the with geophysics, which are probably identifying rock packages, and right at the contact is where you're getting those grades. But even up in here, you're seeing it right in the heart of a geophysical anomaly, same sort of up here. So lots of gold in this ground package. They've got one project to the links to really sink their teeth into, but they have several other ones that look like they're quite impressive as well. So That's the Puma story on their news that they announced this drilling campaign. And I'm very excited to see the results of that. So then you've got Exploits Discovery Corp. And I talked about them when they identified this new gold targets on their southern properties. But they had some really good news here as well. 38 grams over 2.8 meters of high grade gold. Outside of Newfound Gold, which by the way has over $1 billion valuation, they're probably the best results outside of them. And they're right beside Newfound Gold where they're finding this. And they noted that they hit 55 grains of visible gold observed in a network of quartz veining in BE 23-019, which is located approximately 450 meters north of Newfound Gold's recently reported high-grade Everest in central Newfoundland. As they mentioned here, so there's their high-grade gold. It also included 118.92 grams from 0.85 sample, meter sample. Very good stuff. And they've got a lot of gold in the system, 4.65 grams of over 2 meters. Another one, 9 grams over 0.8. Horseshoe remains open in all directions. Diamond drilling totaling 11,292 has been safely and cost effectively completed over the 30-hole first phase evolution at Bullseye. Assay results from 18 of the 30 drill holes have been received and publicly reported. The results from the remaining 12 drill holes are pending. Jeff Swinoga, who's the president and CEO, stated, and I quote, "We are thrilled to announce our first gold discovery called Horseshoe on our Bullseye property. Our first phase of drilling so far has intercepted visible gold in a half dozen drill holes and generated several high-grade intercepts up to 118.92 grams per ton of gold. Consistent with the high-grade intercepts that our peers are reporting just to the south of Bullseye, our geologists are seeing mineralization within a complex network of multi-stage quartz veins. I'm very proud of our local team's accomplishments during this first phase of our drilling program," end quote. So when he talks about a complex network of multi-stage quartz veins, that's exactly what you want to see in these orogenic gold systems. For example, at Fosterville, you had a very complex structural controls of the gold, high-grade gold mineralization, and that resulted in the one of the lowest cost gold mining operations in the world. That Kirkland Lake was one of the lowest cost producers of gold. They were one of the best performing gold stocks in the business, and they ultimately were taken out for well over close to $15 billion. So, you know, these orogenic gold systems, when you find the right one, can be quite spectacular. And that's looking like what Newfound Gold has found just next door. They've got a series of discoveries there: Lotto North, K2, Everest. Further to the south is your Keats zone and your Iceberg, and this looks like a big network of orogenic gold veins or zones associated with the Appleton Fault. So then you come up here, and here is where the Bullseye discovery of exploits is. Now, what's quite interesting is that not too far away, the Newfound Gold guys found this Everest discovery, over almost 37 grams of gold over 3.7 meters, 28 grams of gold over 2.3 meters, which are very much in line. As you can see here, 38 grams over 2.8 meters. And so they're proving up that exploits has something very serious on this Appleton Fault. This K2 deposit, and there's another one up here, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they could be associated with some structures that are located on this island of the project. And so this is a very exciting target. And here you can see some of the news, or some of the zones that they're hitting, the projected zones and the known zones. And look at these purples are the very high grade, over 10 gram per ton stuff. So they're getting lots of good hits in there. And just off the Appleton Fault and wedged in between this other rock package that's in here. So this is becoming a very hot zone for me, if you will. And here you can see some more. This is a cross section that you can see that things are developing over here. In here, everything is open at depth, more in here. And either these are parallel zones, or maybe there's a possibility that as they keep going deeper, that they'll start to come together at depth. However this plays out, they're definitely in the super high grade, similar to what the guys at Newfound Gold, and these guys have a tiny valuation compared to Newfound Gold, and I could think that they could be the next one that has a lot of attention on it. So then they had, that was on June the 13th that they put that news release out. And then earlier today, they announced that they are pleased to announce commencement of an airborne LiDAR survey and a magnetic survey that will cover the company's prospective Gazebo South and Glenwood mineral licenses within the Gander Appleton region. They're using helicopter mounted surveys, will provide high resolution geological information over these underexplored areas, covering approximately 120 square kilometers of the parallel Appleton and Dog Bay faults attributed with several high-grade showings in central Newfoundland. Exploits has engaged the local company RPM, Aerial Services of Holyrood, Newfoundland, as the principal contractor. Data from the LiDAR and magnetic survey will be used in addition to the current mapping, prospecting, and sampling information to identify high priority targets for follow-up. The surveys uses a radar to accurately measure the Earth's surface and classify structural lineaments that would otherwise have been obscured by vegetation. Jeff Swinoga, President CEO, comment, and I quote, "The centimeter scale topographical data from these surveys will greatly assist our field geologists and prospectors in identifying the most promising target areas beyond our bullseye gold discovery. The goal of this year's field exploration program is to generate and advance new targets along the northern prospective fault lines, leading to a drilling decision later this year." So this is the Appleton Fault that has been getting all the attention because of these discoveries down here by Newfound Gold. And then you've got Bullseye here. So most of the exploration drilling that's gone on in this camp and the discoveries are right in this immediate area right here. And so I've heard people complain, or not complain, mention that that this is like the Abitibi region of Canada that started 100 years ago and has been mining big deposits ever since. I think the tally is over 100 million ounces of gold have been produced. But what is important is that there are more than one structure that are important there. Now, although Appleton has gotten all the attention, there are other faults out there that are quite important as well. And as you can see here, the green is the JBP fault. This is the Appleton fault. Here is the, this one is the, it's not Dog Bay. I can't remember what that one is called. Sorry. Could be Dog Bay. I'm not sure. But something that's quite important is that when you see these sort of little bends in these faults, this can be a really important place to look for more gold, because you've got some structural flexion there that can help break up the rocks and prepare the rocks for the gold-bearing fluids from deeper to make their way up. So as you can see here, I'm just going to get there a little bit better. As you can see here, they've got a good portion of that fault on their property and secondary faulting over here, splay structures. And so, you know, sometimes it's the secondary faulting off of these main faults that are quite important, or cross-cutting faulting. And you see a network of those secondary faulting down here, and you've got a project over here that's not very far away, 5 to 10 kilometers, less than that, 5 to 7 kilometers, and you've got a big important structure, deep crustal structure that is basically unexplored. And then you go up here and you've got the extension of the Appleton Fault going across exploits ground. And then you've got this secondary faulting. This is a very interesting area here. And also where these two come together down here is quite interesting. This stuff up here is all interesting. This is the Dog Bay, or the JBP fault that comes up here. Got a pretty good bend, kink there. So yeah, it's a combination of doing more work at the Horseshoe gold discovery on their Bullseye property, but then also advancing these projects, because really, even though Newfound Gold has done a lot of exploration work, I think they're over 250,000 meters of drilling. This is still a very underexplored region of Canada that is emerging as a region that could have many mines on it. And so, you know, it's really the earliest days of something that would be like the Abitibi Belt or other important belts in Canada. And so it's Exploits has found something important here at Bullseye, and they're going to use the same methods that they used to find that to look for more stuff over here on their other ground. And they've got a bunch of other ground that are I think they're one of the largest landholders in this region of Newfoundland, and really focused on these deep crustal faults that are important for the orogenic gold systems to distribute the gold. And yeah, I think they're onto something really serious there. They show you the helicopter that's being used. And another thing I wanted to mention is that on Monday or Tuesday, I've got an interview with their geologist, Ken Tylee, and he's their PGO, and we're going to talk up we'll talk about the Bullseye and what they've drilled there and what's around them, and this new work that they're doing on nearby property. So stay tuned for that, because I'm really excited to get into the guts of the system with Ken and really roll up our sleeves and trying to tell the exploration story to my audience. All right. So the final news release today is from VR Resources. VR Resources confirms kimberlite breccia 700 meters from hole 001 at Northway. and prepares samples for shipping and scopes magnetic surveys on surrounding properties. They successfully intersected kimberlite in their third hole, collared in the heart of a 1.2 kilometer magnetic anomaly on its Northway property. It was completed to 627 meters. Some 350 meters of kimberlite breccia was intersected, starting at approximately 200 meters of depth. So it's covered by sandstone. They drill through that, and then they get into this into the kimberlite. Now, this wouldn't be something that would be an open pit target like a lot of the mines in Canada. With that much cover, they're going to have to look at an underground type scenario, but they got a good intersection of kimberlite breccia, about 350 meters of it. The same depth as in previous two drill holes. The hole ended in xenolith-rich kimberlite breccia open to depth. Kimberlite breccia from drill holes 1, 2, and 3 span approximately 700 meters laterally across the breccia pipe complex and approximately 320 meters vertically below the sandstone cover. So that's 320 meters of kimberlite. Continuous sampling of all 3 drill holes completed to date provided approximately 500 meters of kimberlite drill core for approximately 1.3 metric tons of material for compositional studies and micro diamond evaluation by caustic fusion to be done at SRC's lab in Saskatoon. VR plans to have all of the samples prepared and shipped in the second week of July. So next week, they'll have all that, the core cut and ready for shipping, and they'll send it off to SRC. SRC is a very good lab. They've got a tremendous facility for both the recovery of diamonds and diamond indicator minerals. Later on, they go that drill core photos of a myriad of kimberlite textures were intersected in drill hole 3 with crystalline coherent kimberlite to xenolith-rich pyroclastic kimberlite breccia to magma-clast rich pyroclastic kimberlite breccia to kimberlite breccia with abundant fragments of entrained country rock as illustrated in drill core photos in figures 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here they reiterate that this is a big magnetic anomaly. It's actually quite huge. And when you have such a big kimberlite pipe like that, there is likely going to be multiple phases of the kimberlite. So this kimberlite is a volcanic event, and the first time it comes through, it kind of creates a path of least resistance, and then when you have further volcanic events, they will follow that same path of least resistance. And so then you get a kimberlite that has a bunch of different phases in it. Now, why this is important is that each of those phases can have different diamond populations, if there are, in fact, diamonds in the kimberlite. And understanding those various phases is quite important in the sampling or in diamond analysis of a kimberlite. They give you more details. I'm not going to read it all off, but there is a quote from Mike Gunning, who's the CEO of the company, and he stated, and I quote, "Having now hit kimberlite breccia in 3 drill holes spanning some 700 meters across the magnetic anomaly at Northway, the sheer scale and energy of the kimberlitic event and breccia pipe complex is both obvious and exceptional. There is kimberlite breccia to the bottom of hole 3, which is some 700 meters laterally from the kimberlite crater faces, seen at the top of hole 001, and we have yet to even see the northwestern part of the complex with the 3 holes completed to date. Similarly, we see no constraints for the depth extent of the breccia based on the observation in drill core. including xenolith-rich XPK breccia at the bottom of hole 3, and based on the continuity in the 1,000 meters of vertical extent in our 3D magnetic inversion block model. With that realization towards the sheer scale of the KPK Breccian rocks at Northway and the potential for a new Devonian age kimberlite field in northern Superior Craton, we are now scoping the acquisition of detailed magnetic data on the 20-odd magnetic anomalies that we have staked around Northway and proximal to the active Ontario Northern Railroad. We now have a metric ton of drill core in the 3 holes spanning some 700 meters laterally and 320 meters vertically within the breccia pipe complex at Northway. The amount of core will optimize a first pass evaluation of the microdiamond potential by caustic fusion and provide for a robust compositional characterization of the breccia. In order to appreciate the upside potential of Northway itself and of the expanded strategy related to the field of similar targets staked by VR following the discovery in hole 001, I would again encourage our shareholders to remind themselves of the drill core photos and geological context for this discovery as outlined in previous news releases dated February 22nd, May 18th, respectively, and is summarized on the Northway project page on the company's website. That's the end of the quote. Okay, so now let's take a look at the drill core. Now, when you're looking at kimberlite, what you see looking for is coarse-grained kimberlite and coarse-grained indicator minerals. So what they saw in hole 1 was very fine-grained kimberlite. Probably not going to have a lot of diamonds in it. Doesn't have a lot of indicator minerals. So carrying capacity is probably questionable. Then in the second hole, they got some more of that fine-grained material. But interestingly, they got I don't know how thick the intersection is, but they got a pretty nice intersection with the right kind of looking material, coarse grained, lots of indicator minerals, some nice looking pyrope garnets. Those are your purple garnets, and eclogenic garnets as well, your orange garnets. And these are very important diamond indicator minerals. It will be quite interesting to see the chemical composition of those indicator minerals, because over the last 40 or 50, 60 years, there's been a lot of analysis done of the chemical composition of indicator minerals that are found inside of diamonds or attached to diamonds or in close proximity to diamonds. And these are the difference between kimberlitic indicator minerals and diamond indicator minerals. So they use an electron microprobe that zaps the grains, and you get the chemical composition of those grains, those indicator minerals. And so it will be very exciting to see the indicator minerals from the bottom of the second hole, and the possibility if there might be some diamonds in there as well. Now, it's important to remember that you're looking for, in a high grade kimberlite, over let's say a carat per ton. Well, that only weighs 0.2 of a gram. So think about a ton of rock, and you're looking for 0.2 of a gram inside of that rock. So that's why sample size is very important when you're doing diamond analysis of a kimberlite. You want to be able to grab as much kimberlite as you possibly can, so you increase your odds of finding those 0.2 of a gram 1 carat stones, and bigger and smaller, and those bigger stones. And that's why you need large sample sizes. Now, not all kimberlite is created equal. And as I said, as you could see in hole 1, they had it was fine grained kimberlite. Then you looked at the hole 2, and you got fine grained kimberlite, and then you got the beautiful looking coarse kimberlite with the nice looking diamond indicator minerals. So your fine grained kimberlite in hole 1 and 2 kind of looks something like this. As you can see, the indicator minerals are quite small, but also in hole 3, you've got some nice zones there with your more coarse indicator minerals. So this is some good looking stuff here, in here and here. But then you get some mixture of this fine grained material, and then you get some coarse stuff, nice coarse chunk there. And as you can see, you can actually see that it covers about half of that core there, because you can look on the side of it. And again, some more coarse looking stuff here, but then you get back into the fine grained mixture of some coarse grained. And so this core looks like kind of a mixture of the fine grained to coarse grained stuff. And here you can see some pyrope garnets with chelophytic rims around them, inside of a garnet eclogite. The dark red ones are looking quite nice, and it's a nice sized chunk of rock that comes from where you want to be finding diamonds, below the surface, below the crust in the upper mantle, where you have carbon and you have the right temperature and pressure to create diamonds. And so then you look, and again, you're seeing a fair amount of the fine grained stuff, but then you're seeing nice chunks of indicator minerals that, you're getting some good size to some of this stuff here as well. So what my comments are when I see core like this is that they're kind of, I think, taking a risk to send all of that core in for diamond analysis. What's going to happen is that fine grained material is going to dilute whatever diamonds grade that they have in there. And it doesn't have good carrying capacity for diamonds or indicated minerals. So, carrying capacity of a kimberlite is extremely important. And so what I think they should do more of is, I think that they should do significantly more drilling into the Northway kimberlite itself to get a better understanding of the various different phases of kimberlite that's in their core, or that's in the different phases in the kimberlite. Because I've seen it happen in diamond exploration where, they sample a big pipe, and they get low grade areas and high grade areas, but they mix it all together, and then they get a diluted grade, and they can kill a project like that. And maybe it's not one to be killed, because who's to say that maybe they've got this big core of the kimberlite, and it's got all the diamonds. Well, until you do more delineation, you're not going to fully understand those phases. And only 3 holes into a big kimberlite pipe like that is really just scratching the surface. But I also understand that, market participants out there are anxiously awaiting to see if this is a diamondiferous kimberlite. I just think it's a little bit risky to be running the diamond analysis. I think what's more important is the diamond indicator minerals, because I think that at this stage, with the amount of core that they have into the kimberlite, that the diamond indicator minerals are going to tell you more about the diamond prospectivity than you will get in some of these different kinds of kimberlite that you can see in their drill core. But I don't want the company, and I'm not running the shareholders that want to see that diamond work done, but I'm really hopeful that as they get the diamond work, that they also do a lot of work on their diamond indicator minerals. So then I'm going to scroll down here, because this can give you this gives you an idea of the size of the kimberlite, or the geophysical anomaly, sorry. Here's their hole 1. And you can see that this is a much different portion and in here compared to what you see on the outer edge of that area and sort of going through it, and then on the outer edge of that. So, you know, you're getting indications there that you could be looking at multi-phases to this kimberlite, which is highly likely. When you get a kimberlite that big, it's probably not coming from one volcanic event. I've seen a pretty big kimberlites out there, and they all have multiple phases. So what you can see here is hole 1 was a vertical hole, and I think it sort of clipped the edge of the kimberlite and had mainly the fine-grained, all was fine-grained from what they showed pictures of. Then they drilled from here, hole 2, and they drilled down this way. And this is where they got at the, let's for example, just say the last third or half of that core was that more coarse-grained kimberlite with the beautiful-looking diamond indicator minerals, pyrope garnets, eclogitic garnets, chrome diopsides that were looked to be very rich in chrome. We're in this sort of second half of that hole 2. Then they drilled over here from hole 3, and they drilled this way in hole 3. So here you can see the cross section. There's your vertical hole in hole 1. Hole 2 is coming back towards hole 1 somewhat, and hole 3 is going away. And as you can see, they got a significantly more into that main kimberlite body. Here again, it kind of gives you indications from this high definition magnetics that, you know, you've got some different readings of your mag low. Over here, you've got something that looks significantly different than what's over here, and same thing over here. This actually might indicate that it's a pipe, or a pipe that's coming off of the pipe. This was where hole 1 was done. So again, you could have a very multi-phase kimberlite here that you really want to understand to get an idea of where you would be finding the best grades. Now, another thing I hope that they do is when they finish cutting the core, I would love it if they could put some, getting good lighting and do video of the entire core. This will help investors. It will help analysts out there that understand kimberlites. It'll help with some serious people out there that are quite wealthy and love this diamond exploration business. And what I think that is a possibility is that they might be able to get a significant amount of money for further drilling. I would take that money and I would do more drilling at Northway. And then, as you can see here, here's your cross section of the different mag. And I think they've done some filtering on this. Derivative plan map. So they've done some massaging of the data or of the geophysics, and you're starting to see sort of the different portions of the kimberlite. And in addition to this Northway, they've got a whole bunch of other similar geophysical anomalies that they talked about. And in addition to if they can raise some more money and drill some more at Northway to better understand the phases of the kimberlite, it would be nice to see some drilling of the other geophysical anomalies, because that will help them to show that, okay, not only do they have the potential of something at the Northway, but they could have an entire cluster of kimberlites. And in a cluster, you never really know which one's going to be the mines. Up in Acadie, I think they found over 100 kimberlites and mined a handful of them. Similar story at Diavik. And so you never really know which one is your best one. Some believe that it's the biggest one that's going to have the best grades. I'm a little skeptical about that analysis. I think what you really want to do is look at each one of them individually. And the fact that they drilled or they staked 20 other anomalies that look just like Northway, if they can get the permits and they can get the money to do some more drilling as they're waiting on the results from the core they sent in, then they can further show the potential of a cluster of kimberlites. And that's the way kimberlite fields are. They come in clusters. Where you find one, you find several. And it looks like they have the geophysical signature. And if they can raise some more money and drill some more at Northway and also poke some holes into the other geophysical anomalies, I think that would be a good fundamental decision for the company. Okay, so there you go. There's your 3 news releases. As always, you know, sponsors of my show pay a fee, which enables me to put out a lot of content on them and be an advocate for what they're working on, and also for the industry. I don't do this commentary to affect the valuation of the company. It's really just for information purposes only. I don't make buying or selling recommendations. That's up to you and your financial advisor to assess if it makes sense for you. So you need to do that before making investment decisions. And I'm also a big proponent of investors doing their homework. I can help in that in some way with my information only purposes commentary. But of course, you want to go to their websites, you want to look at their news releases, you want to study their corporate presentations, give the company a call, talk to them. They like to talk about their companies. And that really should be part of your due diligence before you make any investment decisions. And really, that's not a mining sector a good piece of advice. That's a good piece of advice for every sector. So do that homework and have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.